So, will Donald Trump and his buddies who take office in January 2025 help or hurt the housing market? That's the subject of today's video, and I have a lot of thoughts to share on this, and I want to get your thoughts as well. So, let's start with housing and what's going on. Basically, homes are too expensive, right? You guys know that. I think everyone knows that. And essentially, a lot of people feel that they are locked out of the housing market. What's been going on lately is a lot of different factors. One is there's a lot of people who are locked into a low mortgage. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? If you got 2% mortgage, you're absolutely doing fantastic. But if you're looking on moving, right, you would sell, maybe get a mortgage today, what, 6.5%, something like that. It's not really attractive. So you're kind of staying put. And so there's a lot of people basically just staying put. They're kind of waiting for rates to go lower. Many people were saying the magic number for them to be, attracted to getting into the housing market would be around 5%. Looking into 2025, I was looking at some projections. You're looking at between maybe 6 to 7%. So the idea of mortgage rates hitting 5% at this stage, and anything could change. We'll just say there's a low chance of that. So, like I said, it's between 6 and 7. Trump and his buddies also to preference big companies, big business. And in my opinion, one of the problems in the housing market lately has been there's too much Wall Street speculation and too much Wall Street investment in single family homes. So basically, what that means is that if you're just a regular American family, and you're gonna have one home, and you want to go buy one, you're competing with cash buyers, you're competing with teams and pools of investors, and it's just basically an unlevel playing field. In my opinion, I think that's unfair. There's certainly a lot of ways you could deal with that. You could just say, hey, if you want to buy a house, you certainly have the freedom to do so. But if you're not going to use that house as your domicile, if you're not going to live in that house, we're going to tax you at a different rate, right? So that would certainly make it hopefully a little bit easier for you guys to get in. And the other thing too, you could do as well, obviously, I'm sure you guys understand this, is just build a lot more houses and affordable houses. The problem is though, is that as a moment, and I keep mentioning this many times on the channel, it's not that attractive for companies to build affordable houses because the margins are much, much greater on luxury homes. And so we're seeing a dearth of, housing that's just not there for affordable. There's a couple different ways you could address this. And, one of the things that really irked me in the past election cycle is I don't think either candidate talked about housing enough. Which is the biggest like one of the biggest factors in people's lives of things that are expensive, and one of the biggest things in inflation. So one of the things that you could do is you could rezone a lot of commercial properties to be residential. Now it is not easy, and I want to make this clear. It's not easy because let's say you got an office building like that. It's going to take a bunch of money to convert these things into residence, or you have an industrial, an old factory, that kind of thing. You convert it to residence. It takes money to do these kind of things. So it's interesting as a Trumper, as a real estate developer, that kind of thing. I'm surprised he didn't make that part of his platform, but a lot of stuff that he would say on the campaign trail, he didn't really have much of a plan. He would just blame the dark people and say a bunch of names and stuff like that and complain all the time. But yes, rezoning could be a thing. Why would you do that? And why did I mention commercial and industrial? As you guys know, many people are now work from home. So there's a lot of empty downtowns that are actually attractive locations that could be pretty interesting and fun places to live. And I say fun because you could revitalize downtown areas. I certainly understand that it's not an easy feat. Again, it takes money to do these things, and you want to make it attractive. And so essentially, this is a local issue and a national issue, because there are different policies that you can put in place. I'm just giving you a suggestion. How you get to there that's up to local and federal government, whatever. But I'm saying rezone. The industrial stuff I've actually seen in several places around the country where they take these old factories and to make it something really, really cool. So rezoning would be one. One of Trump's proposals is perhaps using federal lands. So I guess that would be like national parks, these kind of things, and open it up to more real estate building. I'm not for that. And I'd love to hear arguments why that would be a good thing. If you guys think, hey, that's not a bad proposal. And even though, like or dislike Trump, I'm fine having these honest discussions about this stuff. I personally think, once you say cut down, Yellowstone or whatever, you're not getting it back. So I'm not really for it. But like I said, I'd like to hear some arguments why we'd want to open up federal land. The other thing you could do as well, again, we're talking about the housing market and Trump's policies, his build more homes. But if Trump's going to institute the tariffs that he says he's going to do, what's that going to do to the price of home construction? So certainly that's going to raise it up, and that will be a real problem for people who want to buy homes. Again, home prices will go up because of his tariffs. Another thing, right? And then talking about will Trump help or hurt the housing market is immigration. So Trump's saying, hey, I'm going to take all of these illegal immigrants. I'm going to deport everybody, maybe even deport all their whole family, regardless if they're American or not. That's going to be a whole mess, which is a whole other issue. And we'll see if we have to talk about that on the channel and deal with that as it comes. But a lot of these people actually work in home construction. So that will probably drive housing prices up. So you have the tariffs where the materials are going to cost more. You're basically deporting the home construction workers. That's going to drive costs up more. And you're going to have to also to maybe replace those workers and maybe train a bunch of Americans who have no experience in said thing. And that might even be a difficult path in itself. For those of you who are in construction, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. You guys may or may not know this. I grew up in Oregon around a lot of construction workers. So I've been on several jobs, be it commercial, residential, etc. And I actually write about that stuff in my book. I also want to show you guys this regarding housing demand. And it's actually interesting. We have a tale of two different generations. We're going to compare boomers and millennials. Now, boomers, when they were in the home buying sort of age group, this is from age 25 to 35, right? So when you're young, you want to be a first-time home buyer. You saw prices increase in homes by about 36% over that decade. Okay, and that's for the boomer experience. When you look at the millennial experience, is actually quite different. You guys can see it here from say year 2013 to 2023. You saw housing prices nearly double. And essentially that's the same age, right? When you're 25 to 35, you're kind of starting out a family, looking to buy a home, etc. Now, what's unfortunate though is that, and this is just how it is, the people who are homeowners opposed to renters, homeowners have a 40 times net worth over renters. And the divide between rich and poor is going to keep going greater under Donald Trump. We just keep seeing all of these policies basically favor the rich. And these big tariffs that he keeps talking about are really going to hurt people, down the spectrum of the economic scale. I know that people that love Trump, they say, well, Chris, he's going to kick out the dark people, and that's going to make everything better. Not necessarily, because I'll give you another example. So some people say, well, if you kick out the dark people, right, and deport all these families, it's going to help the housing market. Well, not necessarily, because these kind of people, not everyone, I don't want to overgeneralize, but just generally speaking, I know I said at the same time, but they tend to be renters and they tend to live in lower income areas. So that doesn't necessarily make home prices come down. So there's that. And then you also too, you have millennials who are in the market. Not only have they, have a difference in net worth, they have a different way of thinking about housing. For many people who are young, and this is talking about millennials, they just don't think housing is worth it, meaning buying a house. Let me show you this chart. This is an interesting one, and it corresponds to the other charts that I just showed you. You can see here, when millennials were age 18, houses were about 200,000. They then witnessed the housing market decline of the great financial crisis, right? So they know that housing isn't necessarily guaranteed to always go up. And then they saw this crazy boom, and a lot of them were unable to get in, right? And then they have that divide between rich and poor. And so where we are today, housing is really expensive in comparison to where it was in the past, because it's appreciated so much. And it feels like we're in a bubble, because we are in a bubble, but things aren't necessarily coming down because, again, we don't have enough supply, and Donald Trump's policy isn't necessarily going to help with that. I just wanted to lay out sort of some things that are on my mind of what's going on. Will Donald Trump help or hurt the housing market? I guess it depends who you ask. I'm going from the perspective of just the average American family. In my opinion, he's going to hurt them. But that's just my opinion, and I want to hear yours. So thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you in the next video.